as somebody with borderline, suicidal ideation is something that many of us struggle with, which is no joke. It leads to a lot of impulsive actions in terms of self harm and things like that, which I dealt with for a long time. And I mean, for me personally, I found that suicidal ideation and or impulsivity was more closely tied to the impulsiveness of BPD than it was the depression, which again I suffered with through BPD. It's a little different when you have BPD to have depression than it is to just have depression by itself. But regardless, for me, depression has really manifested in situations where I have no sense of self. And this sense of self leads me to a point where I feel like I'm going through motions, and that something that I can very much relate to that a friend of mine actually said recently was about just kind of going through the motions in the hopes that it will get better kind of thing. And that was the mentality that I felt like I would be in when I was very much in a depressive episode, is that nothing that I did mattered. Like like logically I could look at all these accomplishments, but they wouldn't have any meaning. And that emptiness would just eat away at me, and and it's not to say that I was particularly productive. It's not like I was as productive as I was when I was feeling good, but I couldn't even look back at past accomplishments and be like, oh, look how far you truly have come, even if you're going through a slump now. And sometimes productivity would completely come to a screeching halt when I felt so empty. What's the point of working on something if I'm not going to get anything out of it? And so these were things that I did have to push through. But I think one of the best ways to push through it is just to, as cliche as it is, the fake it till you make it is kind of works. It worked for me sometimes in bodybuilding, and it works for me in terms of music and creativity and just getting through my days and emotional regulation. In that sometimes the hardest part of getting started is just to get started. And as empty as it may feel, even when you do get started, and maybe it won't bring you anything in the immediate future, but just the fact that you are able to get yourself to accomplish a task that doesn't feel like there'll be much there, that in and of itself is, I think, an accomplishment, and, that was a big thing for me to be able to push through these depressive episodes. And another thing is also just the fact to know that everything comes in waves. We cannot, it's not realistic to, like, they may be some longer, some shorter, but they're like every emotion and everything that we go through comes in waves. So sometimes that fake it till you make it is just until, something shifts either in you or externally that allows you to be in a better headspace. But I think a big part of it is just the resiliency of just pushing through as much as it might seem and feel futile in that time.